Welcome to Epic Conquerors. Your host, Dr. Judy Bauer and Chad Smanjack. You are epic. Everything is possible in Christ. The battle is real. The victory is assured.
Big welcome to everyone that is listening to this topic that we're discussing tonight on our Epic Conquerors podcast. We always start with one of our little phrases, and today it's going to be: the past does not equal the future. So that's always something to remember, because we get stuck in these situations, and what you're going through today doesn't mean what you're going to be going through in the future. So we're discussing turning defeat into a win. That's the series that we're busy on right now. And we've had some amazing conversations. We're blessed today to have a special guest on the podcast. You know how much we love having guests, right?
Yes, we do.
Who's going to share their life experiences and add a whole different color to this conversation that we've been having. So with that, let's go ahead and welcome Joel Lopez. Joel, thank you for your taking the time out to join us and to be a guest on the Epic Conquerors podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on today. I'm really excited about having this discussion with you guys.
Joel Lopez is the founder of Read Your Keys, which is a self-discovery business and a life language certified coach. Joel, before we dive into the conversation, I think our community would love to just get to know you a little bit better. So perhaps maybe you can go and we can start off with you sharing a little bit about you and your family, where you live, kids, dogs, and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah,
all that. Yeah. No dogs for sure. So I have 4 kids, and my wife was like, "Hey, do you want to get a pet?" I was like, "We got 4 kids. What are we gonna get a dog for, man? We're over here
glutton for punishment."
We're good. I'm Joel Lopez, originally from Southern California. Been born and raised there, and went to school there, and I played football there and met my wife, and we got married and moved to Arizona. So we've been here for the last 14 years. It's pretty hot. I think it's like 115 degrees today. So I'm not sure what you guys are doing over there, but 115 degrees.
No, not doing that.
Not doing that, that's for sure.
I grew up in the church. I was telling Judy that Calvary Chapel was my church growing up. So on Sundays, that's where we would go. And had a love for God, and I knew that there was something there, but there was always like there's something more. Like, God, you made me for something. Like I loved playing football. I grew up playing football as a kid, and I really loved the sense of like belonging that you had on a team, but also like, hey, I have a responsibility and I have a role to play. I loved also that there was seasons to things. It's like, hey, at this time of the year, this is what you're going to be doing. At this time of the year, this is what you're going to be doing, and then so on and so forth. And then so once that time was over, it was like, what now?
It's funny how we like everything to be ordered, and then God loves to just mess with that now.
Yeah, for sure. And I really do like order. I like order, but then I like the adventure too. And it's like, but let me have the order first. Let me kind of have that first.
God, let me tell you how I really want you to do this for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so that's also been a thing where it's like, how am I going to let God have control? Because the way I'm programmed, like, I want to tell God the way that things should go. And maybe that's why I'm on here.
I think that's something that we all suffer with. Joe, I'm going to kick it off right now. And if you look back on your life today, obviously just all the life experiences that you've gone through and that, what's something that when you look back that you feel that you really failed at? And how did you turn that around from that defeat in your life and turn it around into a win? Or perhaps if you didn't do it at that given time, how would you turn around as a win today, knowing everything that you've learned and all the different life experiences?
So I remember I was in college. As we were speaking, this just came to me. So I was in college, and I wanted to be a teacher. And so I was in school. My football career was over. It's like, okay, this is where I'm going to go. This is where I'm going to go next. And I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was like, I have never heard any of these things in my life before. Like, my parents were W-2 employees, first generation, to this country. So like all the college and all that stuff, like I had to figure that stuff on my own, and no big deal. Like that's just what it was. But I read this book and it blew my mind. Like, I've never heard any of these things like this. And I was like, my wife, who I had been dating for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and I'm only like 20 years old. So we met fairly young. I was like, I don't want her to live on a teacher's salary. Like, she deserves
Good man.
more than that. Right. Like, and then so it took me all like into this adventure of like, okay, I'm going to find a way to make money. And from there, it's like, we got married, and it's like, okay, we're married. You're taken care of here. Now let me focus on building this kingdom. It's not God's, because I want to give you things. And so I started so many businesses. I started a cleaning business. There was a networking group business that I did. There was a custom clothes business that I did, and I was, dabbling in real estate investing. Like I did all these things. And even in, I had a W-2 job also, and I was trying to climb that. And it's one thing to say like, hey, I didn't really try, and that's why I didn't make it. I was really trying, and I still didn't make it, which is a little kind of a hard truth to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing, really truth right there. Truth bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many times we think if we just work hard enough, long enough,
Mm-hmm.
the breakthrough is going to come. And I think that in all of our lives, as our Epic Conqueror community is listening to us, we all struggle with that feeling of letting ourselves down, letting others down if we don't put in all that hard work. But then we overwork, and then we crash and burn. And I think that's where it all comes tumbling down.
Yeah.
Well, and then at the same time, then, Joe, I'm sure that there's all kinds of emotions and feelings that come up with that, right? And I think that's sometimes what really hinders our growth from on a spiritual side and everything, because now we start to feel like we've been defeated.
Right. And there's definitely that feeling of defeat. So it's like, my job as a husband and a father is to provide, and this level is not where I envisioned being at 37 years old. I figured I would have, we would have been on easy street, not easy street, but hey, we're living living very comfortably. Like, I'm here in Arizona. The cost of living is, substantially less than in
we
California.
are envious of you here in California, what you have in
but
Arizona.
I'm dealing with 115 degree heat though. So
there are some trade-offs.
Yeah, there's some trade-offs, but still, I mean, it's a good life here, and this is what we did it for. And we have 4 babies, which was it's definitely a win. But I figured, hey, because people would tell me that I was smart, not to be arrogant, but they would tell me that I was smart, and it's just like, stop telling me that, because I'm not seeing the results of whatever it is that you see here. Like, I don't want to. Please just stop saying that, because I'd rather have the results. That's what I'd really rather have, and that's been something that was like really hard, and through this journey of like what the Father's heart is for me, and having that discovery and these revelations, it's like, I'm just letting you go on the walk, on the journey that I need you to be, so you can be the man that I wanted you to be, not the man that you wanted to be. Because I think that, so I mentioned that I had played football before. If I had been just a little bit of a better athlete, or if my knees hadn't, my ACLs hadn't blown out, I don't know, maybe I would have gone off to school and I wouldn't have married my wife, because my character couldn't handle the situations I was in, and that was very hard for me, because this was, I was very much grounded in this identity of that I'm an athlete and I'm a football player. But once I saw these other guys were just so much better than me, even when they were like smoking and drinking, and I was doing everything possible, and it was just still not good enough. It's like, hey man, that time is up.
Reality check.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a tough one, because sometimes, like you said, there you're looking around and you're seeing your fellow teammates that are out partying, and you put in the work in, and you're not getting the results, but they are. I think a big part about it is sometimes when you look at it from different eyes. So as a believer, we look at it through a completely different lens. And it says clearly, that, the wicked will, it doesn't mean that, they won't be successful, whatever, but the Lord has a different journey for us.
Right.
Sometimes, like you said, he allows us he'll put the big, sign up and say this way, but we sometimes miss it. And he's a gracious Father. So he'll let us go on our path and let us go zigging and zagging like we do. And all the way he's using that, like you just said, to refine you. And even though you're not seeing the fruits in your life, the thing is, it's behind the scenes and what's actually happening in the unseen that manifests later on. So that's a difficult thing, and I understand that clearly.
And I also liked how you said in the midst of that, you realized that your character wouldn't have been developed the same if you had had a different kind of a journey path. And I think that that's something that we so often just don't pay enough attention to, that God's more interested in our character and who we are as a person, and how we are a demonstration of him in the earth. And so bringing all that together, his journey for us is way different than maybe our journey that we wanted to have, like you said. So that was powerful.
Yeah. And I think too, because I felt like I was on my way maybe like 7 years ago. I had, multiple properties, and it was like, oh, I'm on my way. And I was having a conversation with some friends yesterday, and I was like, you know what, if I had made it at that time, my marriage wouldn't be where it is today, because there was the testing that came with the situations we went through. But also, I really, and this might be hard to admit too, but if I had, we'll say, quote unquote, made it, I think I would have been more in love with the gift than the gift giver. And it's like, no, I want to be in love with my King, because if I love my King, then all these other things will be added unto me. And I would have been in this sense of, I'm going to lose it. Now I got to keep it and hoard it. And that changes you, right? I'd rather be where I am right now. And I'm just saying this right now for the first time, just having this conversation with you guys as we're kind of talking through this. It's like, yeah, I'd rather be where I am right now, because right now I feel like my heart is like, what does God want for me? Not what does Joel want for him? Because what I want is nothing comparable to what he has in store for me.
And that's a powerful thing, right, Mama J? Because we go through that process where it's all about what we want. And the Lord lets us do that, because just wander down. Like you said, sometimes we'll go through 5 or 6, and we've all, been through that experience. And these businesses fail because he'll still keep the gate in front of you. He's not going to, I always believe that there's something bigger, and it's like he's letting you go out and wander around. But at the same time, he's refining your character. He's just listening to what you were saying right there. That's a revelation of getting to the point that you're actually saying, I'd rather be where I am now, because now I feel that I can walk in the destiny and the purpose that God has for me, and not what Joel wants my destiny and purpose to be in. I think that's a very powerful place to be. And I think I'm believing right now that that's going to open up doors, and you're going to start to see things manifest in your life that aren't even visible right now.
I appreciate that. I receive that.
And even for our Epic Conqueror community, I think as they're listening to this podcast, and how when the Lord drops a truth bomb like that on us in our spirit and it becomes alive to us, then our audience also has that same experience where God is like dropping a nugget into their heart as well, because God's all about relationship, and he wants us to have sonship with him and daughtership with him, right? He wants that relationship. And we so often growing up in the church world, which I also did as well from the time I was born, but we put God over here and we're busy with all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And then God's like, no, we need a role reversal here. And I think that's kind of where you had your aha.
Big moment. Time. Yeah, that's fair to say. So very fair.
Hear about that as well a little bit.
So Joel, when you take inventory right now, obviously, as we go through this conversation, what are you seeing going forward? Like you obviously you're talking about the fact that you're feeling that now you're more in a position to receive and see. Perhaps it's not about what Joel wants, and it's more looking and seeking and searching for what God wants. When I was reading some of the stuff you had sent us, it said there, one of the biggest things is partnering with God, which I thought there was, which is, you can't get a better partner than God, right?
Right.
So what does that mean to you today?
Yeah. And just a little background on that is just like, I had started all these other businesses and they were, my ideas, and, God gives us ideas, right? But the intention was to serve me and to build my own kingdom, not his kingdom. And there's always this sense of being out of alignment when I would be pushing to grow these other businesses. And so the new one, I went and got certified in the life languages as a life languages coach, because this was a tool that I felt served me and helped me. But I feel as I move forward and build, read your keys, and begin to assist people in coaching them, I feel like I'm in alignment now, because it's like, this is who you are. This, you're not going out, you're just trying to sell people. It's like, this is something that you've experienced. This is something that helped you to understand yourself, because I would sit in church and I would hear the verse, like, I do not know why I do what I do, and it would be like, why do I do what I do? Like, why? Like, really, really, why? And then
Somebody please tell me.
Yeah. And it's like, but then it was always, well, like, if you ask and seek and knock, then I'll give you the answers. And so I've been on a journey of seeking. Like, I went back to school and I majored in psychology and I found, nothing there. And it's like, well, that's not the answer. And I went through these personal development courses and I spent thousands of dollars trying to figure out, God, who am I? And I used, all these techniques and, whatever resources I could find. Like they say, whatever you have, spend it on wisdom. And I spent it and then some. And so it's like,
so good though.
And so, I mean, that's
part of the process.
Right. But that's how I met you, Judy, right? Like, I was at a conference and like you just kind of like popped out of, nowhere. I was like, I was just sitting down, drinking some water, and you're like, who are you? Like,
you're not the first person to say that.
Don't tell on me now, Chad.
That's an experience that I've heard a couple of times on this podcast.
Oh, have you really?
You just popped out of nowhere. I was like, yeah, sounds like Mom and Jay.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Just popped out of nowhere.
When I did see you and then we chatted for a moment, just something in my spirit said, have you on the podcast? And I think that kind of shocked you as well a little bit.
Yeah, it did. For sure. Like, you probably like, I don't have a poker face. If anybody knows me, it's like, I have no poker face. Like, if I'm into what you're saying or if I'm displeased, it's like,
right. And I enjoyed that, watching your face. Yeah. I just got to say. But anyway, it's just awesome, though, how the Lord connects us and helps us to interact with one another, because we are a body, we are a family. And so often we just bypass one another like we're in a shopping mall, right? Mm-hmm. We don't take the time to really have some conversation and get to know one another and see how we can build and help one another, because that's how God builds his kingdom.
So, Joel, how are you helping people today with Read My Keys? What is
Read
My Keys for somebody that's not a football person?
Oh yeah, so the story is basically, Read My Keys is a football term. Like I said, my identity very much growing up was into football, and I had been playing football for years. And I would line up, and I wanted to do well. I was very much intrinsically motivated that I want to make something happen or get to the ball, make a tackle, whatever that was. And so the ball would get snapped and I would just waste all this energy just trying to find something and make something happen. I did that for years and years and years. But I finally got some coaches, and, this is going into my junior year. I'm 160 pounds, maybe soaking wet. And he's like, Lopez, get over here. And I'm like, all right, what do you got for me? And I'm on the scout team. So the scout team is basically like guys who are not on the first team. Like, you're just like, hey, you're here to like make sure to get these guys better. He says, Lopez, I want you to watch this guy right here. And he points to him. He's like, wherever he goes, I want you to go there. And I was like, well, that sounds simple enough. All right, I'll do that. And as I'm doing that, it naturally puts me in positions where this is where the play is going to get made. I was like, oh, wow, like, I've never experienced this before. It's like, it's this simple. It's like, I pay attention to this thing. There's people who actually know more than me. Well, not that I was
That's a
surprised that they knew
revelation.
more than me, but it was like that really knew. Because by that time I had lots of coaches by then. And so it's like these guys know something else. Like these guys know something. I better pay attention to what he says because he really knows what he's talking about. And I'd never experienced it, but it felt like the things slowed down for me, so to speak. And I think read my keys is kind of something that I would like that for somebody else. It's like I've gone through all of these training and things like that. I've been searching for that. Maybe I can help someone like me who is searching to not have to spend the thousands of dollars that I did to understand themselves. God made you a certain way. That's what I understand. Like, God, why did you make me this way? Why did you give me this sense of hearing me? Why did you give me this intensity? Why did you give me, why do the things that matter to me? Like, why? Like, I'm always asking questions. Like, if there's other people like that who are like me, well, maybe I can serve them. And that's been a paradigm shift for me. And with these other businesses, I was trying to get other people so I could make some money to serve me so I could go tithe more or build a bigger building. But now it's just like, hey, what if I just loved these people right here? Wouldn't that be amazing? And how much better would I sleep at night where I'm like, oh, now I'm in alignment with what God wants. I've been trying to do this myself and ask God for some loan money. How about I just do what he wants me to do because he has all the resources and the people that I need to come in contact with? What kind of an adventure would that be?
So read your key. Read your key. The key then is the person that you are assigned to follow because they know more than you do. That your key, is that the definition of that? Just for those of us that don't know football.
Well, it's just like a basic, like, hey, there's something to pay attention to. Pay attention to that thing.
So Joe, so based on that, what you're saying right now, so when you look back and you take inventory again of your life up until this point, what personal quality or perhaps qualities would you say have served you best in your life?
I would really say being teachable, being coachable. I loved being coached. Tell me what my flaws are. Like, really, please. Like, some people don't like feedback. I welcome it. Like, here's where you need to work, but here are your strengths too. It's a double-edged sword. Here are your strengths. So do this thing more because you get really good results out of doing this thing. This thing right here, let's shore that up. Or maybe there's somebody else who does that really well. Have somebody help you with that, or maybe delegate it out. But I think being coachable is just, I think
that is so huge, Joel, and that really is a shortcoming in so many people. And why they're not successful in life, because unless they're perfect or everybody thinks they're wonderful, they don't want to have anything to do with that person or that situation. On the other hand, we have to realize we have a lot of room to grow and we should be on a journey to constantly be growing. My definition of teachable is the ability to be corrected and still stay sweet. Because sometimes people will let you give them correction, but they don't stay sweet afterwards.
They'll be bitter like lemons.
Like lemons, yes. The Zulu pastor. That's right.
Yeah. You make some lemonade out of it, though.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, open up a lemonade stand and let people quench their thirst on your life experiences. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's awesome. So when you talk about having a coachable attitude, if there's somebody out there listening today that's wrestling with an issue in their life, how would you help them open themselves up to having that kind of an attitude when maybe it kind of goes against their personality or their culture? Because some cultures also, especially in the male culture, are, don't tell me what to do. Or, I'm a self-made person. Yeah. So how would you help someone open themselves up to realizing it's real wisdom to be coachable?
I think I coached high school boys for a while, and most of them don't want to be coached. And this was a inner city high school also, and so a lot of them weren't used to male figures who would give them strong direction or bark at them. And
I
there's
like
a part
that,
but there was a part of me that did that, but you would just kind of meet them where they were. You would understand, like, okay, like I would see a kid, and if I would, try to get a feel for him, and I could tell, like, if I could push him really hard, it's like, oh, there was a dad in the house, so they were used to it. And there were other kids who was like, they would kind of fall apart, we'll say, if I coached them really, really hard. And so it's like, okay, this is where they're coming from. That's fine. But I think they would all have this basic understanding that I was for them, that I wanted them to do well. And that was what my desire was. I wanted to do well. Here's a certain level of expectation that we have when we come in. There was a certain level of expectation that we had for all of them. We didn't expect them all to be, Division I college football players or varsity football players. It's like, you're here. We're all going to work very hard to be the best that we can be. And that's what my goal is for you. That's it. It's just that you can be the best that you want to be. So let me if I come with you with that mindset, but also that I would admit when I was wrong, that they would have good ideas too. So it was it wasn't so much, it was very much like, yeah, I've been here before. I know this thing, but they would say, hey coach, what about doing it this way? And these were freshman boys. Okay. Like they when we would start, they didn't even know how to put their pads on. Like we would have to take an hour to help them put their pads on, but say, hey coach, what if we did this drill this way? Like, oh, that's a good idea. And so I think that
mutual
goes,
respect, kind
right,
of. Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, if you're working, then I'm going to listen to you. I'll admit when I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell you when you're wrong because I can see it. I've been through this before, and so I think as a man, they would really respond to that. So I hope that answers the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Well, we have in our show notes all of your details and things, so there's opportunity for people as they're listening to this podcast to go to the show notes and find out how they can get in touch with you and further connect with you, because I'm sure that there are people out there listening now and in the future as they listen to replays of these things that will have something go off in their heart that says, I resonate with that guy. I want him to help me in my journey in life. And so we're just really thankful that you came on today, Joel. It was a real pleasure to meet you. Serendipitously, if that's a word, I don't know, a few weeks back, and just to have you here already, and I somehow feel like we'll connect now and again throughout our journeys in life, because our goals are similar, to help people grow in the things of God and building His kingdom.
For sure.
But just wanted to say to all of our Epic Conqueror community that's listening, we just want to thank you so much for listening and subscribing, sharing with your friends. But on every episode, we have Epic Conqueror's weapon that we spotlight. That's kind of the spiritual weapon that God has given us to turn defeats into a win. So based on our conversation that we've had today with Joel, Chad, what do you think would be a spiritual weapon that we could spotlight for this episode? What would you say? And then Joel, I'll ask you the same thing.
Mama Jade, does persistency, is that a spiritual weapon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because that's what I'm saying. Persistency, never give up. Just continually go through it, because life's all about the process. It's about the journey, and we never know the right path. And most of the times we miss the signs when God's putting them up, but we just keep going because we know that He brings all paths back for the good of those that love Him and have been called according to His purpose.
Yeah, persistency is good, because we have to seek after the things of God. So that takes persistency to do that. So that's good. What about you, Joel? What would be a weapon that you would spotlight based on your life experience so far?
I would say courage. The courage to, when you fail, to get back up and to get your face, muddied up again until you figure it out. Because the word says that God works together for those that love Him, and He loves us, and so it's going to work out well for us. But we might just have to go through some stuff beforehand to really enjoy that victory when we get it, and it'll just taste that much more sweeter when we get there. So yeah, the courage to rise and rise again.
I like that. That's kind of like childlike faith, really, because when a kid's learning how to walk or learning how to do any new thing, if learning to ride a bike, they fall off half a dozen times, but they don't let it define them. Like, I'll never be able to ride a bike. They just get back up on the bike and try it again, right?
Yeah.
But when we get all grown up, sometimes we get this inflated sense of ourselves. And if we have a defeat or something that we take as a negative, then we just shut down and like, oh, I'll never amount to anything. And it's like, no, get up and go again.
I've never been there before. I've never been
I
there.
know none of us have. We've all been so perfect. That's why we have this Epic Conquerors podcast.
It's funny when you're saying that, Mom, I was just thinking now, could you imagine if we started our lives with the same mindset that we have when we get older? We'd probably never ride bikes. We probably wouldn't even learn how to walk.
Jesus, thank you. Yeah. He's such a wise father.
Like, I'm not doing that anymore. I couldn't walk. I'm not going to walk. I'm done with it.
I'm good. I'll just crawl everywhere. That's fine. It's more efficient anyway.
Yeah, crazy.
Can you imagine a 100-pound baby crawling around somewhere?
Oh, man.
Oh, no, that's disgusting. But anyway, we also have our affirmation, because we need to make these declarations over ourselves of who we are, because the world tries so much to put its identity on us. But as born-again believers, we have an identity in Christ, and it's important for us to agree with what God says about us rather than taking what the message of the world is about us. So for this series on turning defeat into a win, our power affirmation has been, I am an overcomer. So what we do is we do a drum roll, and then on the count of 3, we all say, I am an overcomer. And our listeners say it with us out loud, wherever they are, loud and proud.
And then they write it down and they keep it.
That's right. We hope that they do that. Yeah. So anyway, we're all going to do a drum roll on our table. And then on the count of 3, we're going to say it together. I am an overcomer. Are we ready? Drum roll, please. 1, 2, 3. I am an overcomer. Woo! You know, there's just something so amazing when you say those kind of proclamations over yourself. It can really lift you up to just like get up and brush the mud off and go for it again, right?
Yep. We have, these are words that we need to constantly speak over our lives all the time. Like we was, Mama Jan were talking about it. When you go through these life coaching exercises, I'm sure, like you said, you've been through many of them. They constantly teach you about affirmations, but different ones, right? You can do it, all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. But we need to constantly speak the word of God over ourselves. I am an overcomer. I am more than a conqueror. And these things the words we speak become our reality. So very powerful. Joe, thank you so much for your time. It's been great chatting to you, and we wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll stay connected, and we can, at some point reconnect with you and see how your journey is going, because we love to be part of everyone's journey as they go through life, through their zigs and their zags. And all the best, and thank you so much.
I just want to say I really appreciate you guys having me on today. It's been a lot of fun. You said it'd be fun, and this has been really great. You guys really appreciate it.
Awesome. And what could be like one last statement you would just love to leave our listeners with that would be like just a real truth bomb?
God made you for a reason. It's your responsibility to figure out what it is.
Woo! I love it.
Love it.
On that note, we will say ciao for now. Thanks so much, Joel.
All right, guys. God bless you guys.
Bye-bye.
New Testament evangelism and discipleship training. The Master's Class. Online courses created for 21st century believers. Experience His joy and a front row seat to miracles. Start today. Eternity matters.